Alright, we're back on tier 2. So last time I did about half of this tier because it was really big, and only half of it took an hour and a half, which was even longer than the first tier, the total first tier, which is only an hour long. So I divided it into two parts, and now we're on part 2. Chris Hanson. So Chris Hanson he was originally a TV host from the TV show To Catch a Predator, where he would, catch predators. Um, but as the show went on, the show gradually became less and less about, actually apprehending them and more dramatized for the sake of viewership. And this eventually reached a peak when what happened was they brought a team of police to swarm someone's house because they thought he might have bad things on his computer. And this resulted in the man committing self-gaming in the house. And this sparked a humongous controversy, which resulted in the show getting taken down. I mean, technically it didn't, but I think we all know it did. But Chris Hanson remained like a reporter and was still able to work for NBC for a little while before reports of him cheating on his wife, which resulted in his wife being unable to, or resulted in the person he cheated with being unable to find any jobs, caused him to get fired from that. So he resorted to going on YouTube. On his YouTube channel, he began re-uploading clips of TV shows like Oprah and NBC, as well as animated parodies, all of which he did not own, which resulted in his channel getting copyright stricken and taken down, though he claims that it was because it had the word predator in it, as his channel is titled Hanson vs. Predators. He published his videos in a very amateur way, which I know I'm not really one to complain, but not only did he use an amateur web application like what I'm using, but he worked with, his web producer was the owner of this website whom he paid an exposure. Eventually, Chris Hanson discovered the whole Onision case, and he began interviewing basically every victim of Onision in an attempt to, bring Onision down and ultimately interview Onision, or the psycho internet brat, as he called him. Or Psycho YouTube brat, as he called them. But anyway, the women he interviewed, these interviews were good in getting information out of Onision. The interviews were structured terribly from a journalistic standpoint, as he made them heavily biased and had them like lean towards what he was saying and focused on certain aspects to dramatize it. In addition to this, he also handled a piece of evidence, which was a laptop supposedly containing bad things on it, very poorly, as he sent it to the video editor, who was going to like copy it and send it to the FBI. Which no, you should just send it to the FBI directly. But yeah, this was listed as tampering with evidence. He eventually got the help of a lawyer called Mike Morse to help with the situation, but that didn't go too well, as Mike Morse has been what's the word, accused, I guess, not accused, but what's the word for like when you specifically legally try someone for something? I guess it'd just be tried, whatever. He was apprehended for multiple crimes, including perjury, fraud, and sexual misconduct. And so, yeah, Chris got someone pretty controversial on the side. And if all that wasn't enough, then he milked the Onision case so hard that he went to Onision's house with like a camera crew and his lawyer. And though he didn't receive any legal punishment for it, people were quite obviously pretty pissed off, though the phone call Onision made there was pretty funny. Just calls 911, like, who's coming into your house? He's like, there's someone else on my house. It's Chris Hanson. Yeah. Terrible impression of him. But anyway. So then he also interviewed a Tumblr blogger who had a blog about Onision, because I guess interviewing all the victims was enough. And he interviewed them while they were high on Xenadril or something like that. They were high on some drug, which resulted in her saying things like Onision was responsible for people starving to death. lies which Chris Hansen did not look into and instead propagated, again, for the sake of sensationalization. Then Chris Hansen basically became like a scam artist, which started simply with his cameo, where you could pay $50 for him to say things, but he did zero research into what he was paid to say, and resulted in making some pretty poor taste jokes. But then that got even worse when an actual scam artist by the name of, I almost forgot, when he opened a Kickstarter account to, like, fund his Chris Hansen versus Predators show, and all the rewards that people were promised were not delivered, and when he attempted to buy said rewards, he ended up not paying the check to the person he bought the cups and stuff. Basically, he had merchandise, and the person he was buying the merchandise from, he didn't pay back, and so he got arrested for fraud because of that, but he was shortly released. But anyway, after the whole cameo thing, things got even worse as a scam artist by the name of John Cristanti, who is, funnily enough, a scam artist that promotes books which are telling you how to avoid scam artists, which are in and of themselves scams. But yeah, he promoted that guy for enough because he was paid to, and then he participated in a smear campaign against the politician Valerie Plame, who is Jewish in both her religion and heritage, and he participated in a smear campaign, saying that she was anti-Semitic, despite her being Jewish and in both faith and heritage, and he only did this because he was paid enough money for it. But yeah, that's kind of where the story ends for now. Oh wait, he also blocked basically anyone who criticized him on Twitter, and resorted to copyright striking people who criticize him as well. So oops. And he also, when one person criticized him, just responded by showing them his Emmy hole. I'm a Gummy Bear. I'm a Gummy Bear refers to a music video, the full title of which is the Gummy Bear song Long English version by I Can Rock Your World. This is a music video which features a green animated gummy bear dancing around and singing I'm a Gummy Bear to a very annoying tune. And this song was one of the early viral videos which a bunch of babies watched, and because I guess somehow this ended up. I remember when I was a kid, this slipping into like the educational video section. Don't know how it got there, but anyway, because of that, it received a massive amount of views, and as of now has 2.9 billion views. And some people even feel nostalgic about it. The Globglogabgalab. The Globglogabgalab is some sort of weird. Okay, well, the Globglogabgalab is a character from the movie Straczynski and the Mysterious House, which came out in 2012 and was produced by the animation studio Hope Animation, an animation studio which Scott Cawthon, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, worked on. But the movie is a Christian movie, and one of the characters in it is the Globglogabgalab, a being who who once was an elf but melted into this massive fleshy blob creature because he read too many books, essentially. So it's like an anti-consumerism message, I guess. But in 2018, somehow people found out about this movie, and the combination of how weird the character looks naturally and how poor the animation quality is resulted in the Globglogabgalab becoming a giant meme. And then it resurged in popularity in 2021 thanks to a video in which Doki said he was predicting Kanye West's album Donda before it released. The video was a joke video, but at one part he played the Globglogabgalab song saying Kanye West would release it. And then in the actual album, on the song Remote Control, at the very end of it, Kanye West samples the Globglogabgalab. And not only does he sample the Globglogabgalab, he samples Grande's Lil Pump remix of it, specifically. MaximilianMus Contraversy NS. MaximilianMus is the YouTuber who is responsible for the Oh Yeah Yeah music video, which took over YouTube in 2019, and I covered it on the first tier. However, he is a absolutely terrible person who before 2020 was known mostly for the aforementioned Oh Yeah Yeah, but in 2021 Moist Critical made a video in which he basically exposed a bunch of terrible things Maximilius has done, including harassing basically any streamer or YouTuber he disagrees with by having his chat spam their comment sections with racist and homophobic things, and then having them make it look like the streamer is saying those things so that they get banned. Sending death threats to multiple people. Literally sending his fan base to attempt to game end people he disagrees with, including Moist Critical. Making fun of the girlfriend of someone he disagreed with because their dad died. And forcing a mentally ill man, well, not forcing, but manipulating a mentally ill man into eating his own feces. This all, if all this wasn't bad enough, his Discord server has cheese pizza repeatedly shared around on it, which is obviously, bad, but he claims he was just doing it as a joke, even though his Discord servers have been removed multiple times because of it, and he's called himself a P-word multiple times. But despite this, he claims that it was only being shared as a joke. He also says that Chris Pratt should be legalized. So, yeah. After Moist Critical made the video exposing him, he said that he was going to basically turn a new leaf and become good, and no, he lied. He continued doing the terrible things, and again, sent people to go to Moist Critical's house, or attempted to send people to Moist Critical's house to game in him, though thankfully nothing ever happened from that. Hiding dislikes. So, I don't think this is referring to YouTube removing dislikes from the platform, because this was created before, this Iceberg was created before then. So, and because the dislikes were removed, it's kind of hard for me to find out what this was referring to, because anytime I search hiding dislikes, it just brings up YouTube deleting dislikes. So I have two potential explanations for what this could be. Explanation number one is the more likely one, which is on a YouTube video, you can disable likes and dislikes if your video is doing particularly bad, or if you think it's going to do bad, like if it's an apology video, in order to prevent people from seeing how terrible it is. Which, by the way, there's this feature, there's this Chrome extension you can download on YouTube to allow you to see how many dislikes videos have. It was intended to combat the whole deleting dislikes thing, but it actually works on videos where dislikes were removed even before dislikes were removed. So that's pretty cool. But the other thing this could potentially be referring to is possibly some kind of glitch I don't know about, where you can hide dislikes. I don't know if this is true. And I don't know if this is true, and it's probably not. I'm gonna go with the latter option, Occam's razor. Oh wait, I just have a third one. It could also be the fact that comments don't show you how many dislikes I have, but that's also not likely. So yeah. Mariya Takeuchi, Plastic Glove. So Mariya Takeuchi was a Japanese pop artist during the 80s, and her song "Plastic Love," which is a song about how consumerism and romance are used to fill out the hollow holes in one's life, became what this entry of the Iceberg is referring to. The song was what fits into the subgenre of city pop, which I'm not good at describing music genres, but in general, city pop is defined as just pop music from Japan in the 80s, in the 70s and 80s, that is well known for the aesthetic depiction of of Japan's idea of a modern, glossy, shiny Japan, as well as various different samples from things and lyrics that are mostly in Japanese, but with some English lyrics as well. This song became the face of city pop in YouTube for three reasons. Two reasons. One, because the YouTube algorithm decided that decided that the uploads of it, specifically the upload by Plastic Lovers, was just going to become super popular. It's also worth noting that a lot of the other uploads got deleted, so that might be one of the reasons why. But three reasons. One, because the YouTube algorithm just decided to pick it up and make it really popular. The second being because the song is just begging to be a sample for night pop, future funk, or vaporwave. And three, because of the photo that I'm showing right now, which, though this was not the original cover of the photo, was, well, there's this long backstory to it where basically it was taken by this other photographer, and somehow it ended up being used as the cover art for the album's upload, for songs upload on YouTube, which became much more well known than the other cover art. However, the photographer got kind of mad that his photo was getting plastered all over YouTube without him getting any compensation for it. So he took the video down. He did not have a very good understanding of how the YouTube's copyright system works, so how the YouTube algorithm and YouTube's copyright system works. So he thought that if he copyright claimed it, they would just remove the photo but keep the video. But unbeknownst to him, this obviously deleted the entire video. And though the video was re-uploaded several times later, people got extremely upset at him and started sending him hate mail, which just created a rivalry between the two, without either one really understanding the other one's motivations. SiIvaGunner Puzzle Room Incident. So there's a YouTube channel called GameXplain that uploads songs from video games. And then there's another channel, SiIvaGunner, which uploads riffs of those songs to make them sound like various other songs, namely memes, and essentially troll people. And what this entry of the Iceberg is referring to is when they created a riff of the song Program Rhythm from Kirby Planet Robobot. And they didn't know the person that made this. It's run by a team of people, and the person who made this riff didn't know the name at the time, so they went with Puzzle Room. But what this riff was doing was it was referencing a Russian bootleg of a game, a Russian Felix the Cat bootleg, in which if you run out of lives, you're presented with the options safe or hit. And if you click on safe, you can continue the game. But if you click on hit, you get a game over screen which depicts Felix the Cat peeling their skin off of their skull. And for the SiIvaGunner version, if you click on safe, it takes you to a Mexican music video, which is about a guy going to Russia. But if you click on hit, it takes you to an image of a Harlequin baby, which is a baby with like this condition that causes their skin to turn into like disc lumps with red lines going through them, and it looks pretty creepy to those who haven't seen it. And that image was pasted through Nintendo's Hyper Know Yourself filter to make it look like Kirby. The original person that made the upload wanted to put an image of Kirby ripping their skin off, but they didn't. But obviously one didn't exist, and they didn't want to make one, so they decided instead to go with the Harlequin baby that looks like Kirby. Now, if this had been an Iceberg video, here's my justification for this. If this had been an Iceberg video that already contains many worse tiers, and this is not the worst thing, it would have been one thing. But basically what I'm saying is, if this had been like a video where you'd expect to see something like a Harlequin baby, like for instance a deep YouTube Iceberg video, where you'd probably see much worse, where realistically I'd probably put the Harlequin baby in the thumbnail or something just to make sure that I don't catch people off guard. SiIvaGunner's riff was not targeted at the kind of people that were expecting to see this kind of thing. It was targeted at unsuspecting viewers that were expecting just a funny riff of a Kirby game. As such, they got pretty upset at it, and they got pretty upset at SiIvaGunner, who took down the video and issued an apology. Then they made a re-upload which just contains Kirby with some MS Paint little red lines around it. Community captions. So you know how you can turn on closed captions on a video, and it will allow you to like see what the person's saying? Well, closed captions are generated by an AI. You used to be able to use community captions, which allow multiple people in your audience to translate the videos for you and then upload the translations. However, this ended up causing problems as people started using this for self-promotion, spam, and slandering people's videos. And it got so bad to the point where multiple big channels like PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye had to turn off community captions and replace it with just the normal closed captions. People brought up these problems to YouTube, and YouTube said, actually, it's the creator's responsibility, not ours. And then when they received backlash for this, they were faced with two different options. Option number one, spend time and resources to fix community captions so that these problems would not be as prevalent, or option B, remove community captions entirely. Which one do you think they went? They went with option B because they're assholes. MiniLad NS. MiniLad is a YouTuber who got popular from playing Call of Duty and Call of Duty trolling videos and from working with the Vaynos crew. However, his career started plummeting after he left the Vaynos crew, claiming to have been kicked out of it, as he was most likely left because he was mad that other members of the group were gossiping behind his back. So after leaving, he lost a lot of respect, and he stopped uploading for multiple months at a time, and claimed that this was because of mental health issues. And he lost a lot of respect for both of these. But what sealed the deal and put the final nail in the coffin was him sexting 17-year-old fans, which resulted in well, he came back shortly, just right after his allegations came out, but instead of addressing the allegations, he just said, that break was really good for my mental health, and everyone commented on the allegations. So his next video was an apology video about that, in which he used his mental health issues as an excuse for what he did. And after that, he lost a humongous amount of subscribers, and his channel's basically dead now. GameXplain Controversy. So there's this YouTube channel called GameXplain, which is like a corporate entity that does, videos on video games and reviews and showcases and stuff like that. And 3 employees left GameXplain on the same day, and they formed their own channel. And on that channel, they revealed that they had been underpaying their employees and overworking their employees. Like, for example, they forced one of their employees to play the Final Fantasy VII remake in 2 days. They also actively sabotaged their employees, forcing them to sign non-disclosure agreements, making it so that if they left, they were not allowed to have work in the video game industry for another year, and forcing them to live stream on GameXplain's Twitch instead of their own Twitch, as well as preventing them from getting any money from their super chats and having it be counted as like bonuses in their checks. And despite all the ridiculous amounts of money the company was making, they were still barely paying their employees anything, and the CEO was making the most money. GameXplain, upon getting exposed for this, basically just underwent a massive controversy in which everyone turned against them. PewDiePie hate speech controversy and the first Adpocalypse. So an Adpocalypse is an event that has happened 4 times in YouTube's history, and they're events in which the advertisers that give YouTube their money start pulling out, thus forcing YouTube to enact stricter monetization policies in order to keep the advertisers around. The first of these events, which is where the term originated from, was kickstarted by a controversy with PewDiePie. This controversy didn't single-handedly cause it, it was what began the downward spiral that led to it. What this controversy entailed was PewDiePie went onto Fiverr, a platform where you can pay people to do stuff, and he was making fun of how anyone will do anything for a quick buck these days. And then he paid, and to prove his point, he paid 2 people who, unbeknownst to him, were poor people from India and did not understand English, and paid them to hold up a sign saying, game end to all people of racial descent of a certain area in the Middle East. I think you can probably figure out what he said. Because of this, a lot of people, rightfully so, got very mad at him for this. And they, not rightfully so, got mad at the people that were holding up the sign, who apologized and said, we don't speak English. PewDiePie also apologized. But the media took this way too far and took what was a very tasteless joke as PewDiePie being a literal person who is unable to see, we'll say. And the result of this was what, caused the whole downward spiral thing. It's also worth noting that this controversy that PewDiePie got into is what resulted in him losing his contract with Disney, and also resulted in the cancellation of Scare PewDiePie Season 2 that I mentioned in the previous video. TanaCon. In 2018, the YouTuber Tana Mojiro, once butchered the name, said that she was not going to go to VidCon because of the last few years VidCon had screwed her over and was not working well with her. So instead, she was going to create her own event, TanaCon. And she did very little planning for this event, and it shows, as the event was a complete disaster. The place that she booked that the event was going to happen at could only hold a maximum capacity of a couple thousand, of like 2,500 people or so. But she sold over 5,000 tickets, and thousands more showed up. This resulted in a massive line that wrapped around the entire parking lot multiple times, and everyone who was there, even the earliest people, had to wait like 2 to 6 hours. And they had to do this in the burning summer sun, which gave multiple people in the line sunburns, and even caused a few unlucky members of the line to pass out. And inside of the venue, there were so many people that everyone was just cramped up. They couldn't leave because if they left, they were unable to get back in, and thus they weren't allowed to eat. And no one except for like 150 people even managed to meet Tana. The event was canceled, and the second day that was supposed to happen never did happen. And a bunch of the creators that were going to be there just didn't even end up going. The event was such a massive failure that it made a severe dent on Tana's reputation. However, she was able to recover from it as she showed genuine remorse in the interview Shane Dawson gave to her in the years that follow, and she went back to VidCon. Rushia-chan is the most super chatted YouTube channel. The original Iceberg listed Coco-chan as being the most subscribed super chatted YouTube channel, which she is still the second most super chatted, but she's not the most super chatted, as this is the result of the Iceberg having been created like a year or so ago. But anyway, Rushia-chan has managed to make a total of $3,284,123 from super chats alone. Now, for those of you that don't know, super chat is something you can only do during a live stream where you pay to have your comment placed really high up, and basically like highlight your comment for the streamer to see. And if you look at like the list of the most super chat channels, it's almost solely dominated by VTubers, which is probably for two reasons. The first of which being because VTubers almost exclusively stream, and as such, they don't really have that much competition that much non-VTuber competition when it comes to super chats. Like the only people that they're really fighting against there are Dr. Disrespect, iShowSpeed, and the YouTube channel that live streamed the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case, weirdly enough. Which, like, what are you doing, guys? Do you think that like the judge is going to stop in the middle of the trial to read your super chats? What are you doing? Anyway, and then of course the other reason why they get a lot of super chats is because, well, I'll let you take a guess why. SFM and MMD Animations. SFM is short for Source Filmmaker, and MMD is short for Miku Miku Dance. These are two different animation programs that are very often used to create animations on YouTube, with MMD having a specific leaning towards more anime animations. Malware and phishing scams. So YouTube, just like every other platform on the internet, is subject to spam comments, as I talked about in the first tier. But specific kinds of spam comments will try to make whoever is reading the spam comment either download malicious viruses onto their PC that could potentially damage them or steal information, or alternatively are phishing scams which attempt to solicit information out of the user in an attempt to get them to someone else for who knows what. Mobile game advertisements. Mobile game advertisements are very infamous on basically all platforms, including YouTube. And the reason why is they're just terrible. They're just terrible they're spammed everywhere, and they feel honestly like they could be AI generated with the amount of tropes they have, as well as the fact that they barely ever relate to the game, since the games are usually just shitty match 3 games. But some examples of what these ads will include are advertisements where there's red and blue people with numbers over their heads fighting each other to absorb the other person's numbers, people fighting each other on towers, people leveling up, as in the Mafia City ads, which I'm playing on screen right now. Can you not do that now? And Mafia City advertisements are playing on screen now, which became super infamous back in 2018 because they were just everywhere. And then, of course, there's the extreme amount of over-sexualization in these advertisements. There's advertisements that rip off other people's art styles, like Cyanide and Happiness. There's ones that have weirdly are obsessed with like romance for some reason, namely due to games like Episode. So it's just a dumpster fire, really. Oh, and of course the pin pulling games. Who could forget about those? Jeffree Star. Jeffree Star is a beauty YouTuber that originally was a creator on MySpace, but moved to YouTube and started a beauty brand, but has gotten into multiple controversies to the point where Jeffree Star is actually considered where the genre of YouTube drama channels is born from. Of the multiple scandals he's gotten into, these scandals include having made racist comments in the past, not wanting to apologize for said racist comments, repeatedly lying to people, making a documentary series with Shane Dawson, 2 in fact, one of which was just an advertisement and the other was just to clear his name, having used imagery of people that cannot see what I did there, and in one of his Instagram posts, and worst of all, having been a predator to multiple people, and to the point of having been banned from going to concerts because of it, or being able to put on concerts because of it, and because of his inappropriate behavior with minors at the concerts. All this has kind of piled up, and due to his extremely passionate fan base, he's been able to avoid a lot of the accusations up until recently, around a few years ago, at which point it just couldn't contain itself anymore, and the YouTuber made a giant video exposing how like basically every lie he's made, and when his entire personality built upon being a genuine person, his this was when respect for him, at least generally amongst the general consensus amongst people on YouTube, was no more. People just hate him now, pretty much. The angriest comment thread. So there is this YouTube video, which is an upload of Paper Mario Sticker Star's final boss music. And in the comment section, a user by the name of Lunar1314 commented, "I don't care if I get hate because of this opinion, but this is my favorite Paper Mario final boss song." To which another user by the name of Arumaru1837 commented, "Because you're like 9, haven't even played the other games, I guarantee you." And then another YouTube channel by the name of Dave Matthew replied to that saying, "How about we agree that you are a jerk? Everyone can have their own opinion, and that is the internet, so no one cares about your opinion to begin with." From here, with only one more comment from Lunar saying, "Hey, I don't want to be a part of this," the other two, Dave and Armaru, spiraled down into this constant argument where they basically forgot what they were even arguing about and just exchanged insults with each other, with Arumaru constantly just saying Dave has no life, and Dave just constantly saying Arumaru is a little maggot. Eventually, Arumaru even says at one point that they've never even played any Paper Mario game, and they've only played one Paper Mario game, so the whole thing that they were originally starting this argument about is just completely pointless. The two of them eventually keep exchanging back and forth when Arumaru starts demanding another user by the name of Mr. Hater joins into the argument and basically replaces Arumaru as an even more aggressive version of Arumaru, and demands that Dave give Arumaru an apology. As Dave and Mr. Hater argue with each other, the spaces between the amount of time between their back and forth continually grows larger and larger, with Mr. Hater even admitting at one point that his ultimate goal is just to waste everyone's time. Eventually, Dave stops answering, and Mr. Hater declares that he's won in some way because he has wasted everyone's time, and technically, Arumaru still hasn't apologized yet. I mean, Dave hasn't apologized to Arumaru yet, and so Dave is still the villain in Mr. Hater's mind. Then some people from here, the argument kind of ends, and a couple more normal users start realizing what's going on and start commenting on it. And then one final user by the name of Yoshi705 responds to Arumaru and basically provides an analysis of the song and why it's good, or why it's not an amazing song but is still good. And to which Arumaru, after months of silence, 10 months of silence, responds by saying, "I don't give a fuck about your opinion. The song is still shit." This probably isn't literally the angriest comment thread on YouTube. It's been dubbed as such in a video Moist Critical made about it, and that was what really drew attention to it. ProJared Controversy. So there's this YouTuber by the name of ProJared, who was a very popular YouTuber in the early 2010s, and worked on Normal Boots with JonTron and Peanut Butter Gamer. However, in 2019, there was a controversy that came out about him, where his wife accused him of cheating on her. This is his wife, being Heidi. And after that, basically the entire internet just collectively got together to shit on him. And as they were doing this, people uncovered him doing bad things with underage people, and in specific 2 cases. They uncovered a secret NSFW account where they found him interacting inappropriately with 2 minors. However, after this, like about a month after this controversy happened, and ProJared had already lost a bunch of subscribers, he made a response in which he disproved basically everything that was happening, saying that he had not cheated on his wife, and more importantly, the accusations of child grooming were completely untrue, as one of the 2 people who made the allegations against him had memory problems and disabilities during the time in which they claimed to have that ProJared was with them, and had no evidence of their claims, and the other person actively lied about their age. And after this, everyone kind of took his side once again and apologized. Except, of course, his wife, who made a response video trying to debunk that, which got disliked to hell. And her comment section was shut off after that. Trollage instant videos. So there's this type of meme that was popular in 2021 called Trollage Incident, which, for context, they're based off of Rage comics from like 2009 to 2008, where it would be like, they're specifically based off of ones that are like step 1, step 2, blah blah blah, and it would eventually build up to some kind of punchline. And in 2020, and the punchline would usually involve the troll face, and then in 2021, a meme called the Trollage became popular, where it was basically just this really creepy troll face that was parodying this one comic telling you that if oil floats on oil, then when you cover yourself in oil and it rains, you should be able to fly. And it was essentially being like a weird, creepy, like a creepy surrealist post-irony version of that in a way. And then that kind of expanded into Trollage incidents, where what people would do is they'd have what would start off like a Rage comic, where it goes step by step, and would involve a troll face character doing something that you'd normally see in a Rage comic, like, how to go to school, something like that. But then instead of it building up toward a punchline, it gradually gets more and more disturbing as the video goes on, and it ends with the character turning into some kind of eldritch monster, and then the text that says the blank incident with a date. It's also worth noting that a lot of these Trollage incident videos use music from everywhere at the end of time. Weird DDLC mods. Warning: the following entry contains spoilers for the game Doki Doki Literature Club. If you don't want the game spoiled for you, then please skip and move to the next entry. And if you don't care about getting the game spoiled or already know about the plot of the game, then you can watch this part. Yeah. So Doki Doki Literature Club, for context, is a game which is a psychological horror game disguised as a dating simulator where you date 4 girls, which are Yuri, Sayori, Monika, and Natsuki. And the game it starts off as like a normal dating simulator. It's mostly just a visual novel with minimal gameplay. But as the game progresses, it gets gradually more and more creepy, and eventually it's revealed that Monika is this fourth wall aware entity that's trying to hijack the game and delete all the other characters and make it so you love her, and you have to go into the game's files to delete her. So with that out of the way, now we can get on to what this entry is talking about. Okay, so I searched for weird DDLC mods to see what I could find. And yeah, so for example, some of the things that pop up are Sayori opens MC's door, and which is the reverse of what happens in the game. The Dokis try to wake up MC, but in a weird way. Natsuki's weird question, Truth or Dare DDLC fan mod 16+. Whatever this is. MC's new weird name. Monika converts the Dokis into something strange. Life with Monika gets weird. It seems like a lot of these mods, I looked at it a few of them. It seems like a lot of them are either just the majority of them just seem to be a story based off of the actual game's characters, just in a different context. But then the ones which I think this entry is more so referring to are probably these weird fetishy mods. Like this. What if the Dokis were lesbians? Why, yeah. And then, yes, you see what I mean? Things like this. The Dokis have a baby. What is going on here? The Dokis have a sleepover. And then I looked it up on Google, and these are some of the first things that come up. Why? What's really weird about this whole rabbit hole is that I can't find any explanation for it. There's no one that's talking about this weird rabbit hole, despite it. Oh my gosh, despite it clearly existing. Why? The Midnight Game? What is that? Is that I'm actually kind of curious just about the Midnight Game, not about the actual mod. Oh my gosh. But yeah, but so I couldn't find any actual reason for why there are so many weird mods of this game. If I had to guess, I'd make a few. I think it's a combination of things. The first of which being that the game was just really popular. The second being it has cute anime characters, so it's probably easy to clickbait, as well as put in these more fetishy videos. And then the why? So lost my train of thought. And then I guess the third reason would be that call slot enemies cursed. What was I saying? The third reason... Oh yeah, third reason is because the game is really simplistic gameplay-wise, and it's like a visual novel game, so it's probably, I don't know for sure because I don't know how to mod games, but it's probably not it's probably one of the easier types of games to mod. So it's probably all these things. But yeah, I don't have any definitive explanation. If I were the creator of the Iceberg, really, if I were the creator of the Iceberg, then I would probably put this this entry a lot lower down. But Dream Mask official music video. This original video was deleted due to how poorly it was received, but it's been re-uploaded. It's a music video by the YouTuber Dream, and it's a music video for his song Mask, which is it was very poorly received for a variety of reasons. The main one being the horrendous animation quality. But the song itself, well, on its own, like in a vacuum, it's not the worst song ever. There's just so many terrible things about it. Namely the awkward swearing in the middle of the song, the use of the really bare bones message about like not being normal or whatever. Like there's a point in the music video where he just starts he throws away his normal pills. But yeah, I guess all this was too much for the 26 million subscriber YouTube channel Dream. You know, he couldn't handle all the bad criticism he got from it, so he took the video down and uploaded and it's been re-uploaded though. I guess it's also worth knowing that Dream has ADHD, which contributes to the message of the music video in some way. I don't know. Kiryu Coco harassment campaign. Kiryu Coco is the second most super chatted YouTube channel on YouTube, and is a VTuber who works for the group Hololive. And what happened was around 2 years ago, she mentioned that a portion of her viewers were from Taiwan, which caused a bunch of Chinese nationalists to get mad at her because, for those of you that don't know, Taiwan it broke away from China, and the nationalists in China don't believe it to be a legitimate country. And so she received a ton of hate and harassment, and ended up severely limiting her abilities to collab with people, and eventually it resulted in her having to be terminated from the company around a year later. But she moved to Twitch, where she took on a new persona of Kason, and eventually joined another group, Shoujo, which then also got a bunch of hate when she tried to join it because, you know, she said Taiwan is country. What happened to our study girl? So the YouTube channel, there's this YouTube channel called College Music, which is the second most popular lo-fi channel on YouTube, second only to Lo-Fi Girl itself. And they noticed that a lot of people who were talking in the live chat of their live streams kept talking about how depressed they were and stressed out about exams and stuff, and in extreme cases how they were experiencing self-game-ending thoughts. So what they did was College Music partnered with Vice, which is like some news company, to make a video called "What Happened to our Lo-Fi Girl." I mean, to our study girl, which is the same animation that plays during the Lo-Fi streams, but then the music cut off and it cuts to Lo-Fi Girl crying, and with like some honestly kind of really realistic crying. And then she draws out a knife, and I think you can guess what happens after that. And as the video ends, it says look in the description, and if you look there, there's a link to a Vice article which has like a bunch of hotlines for help with those kind of things, and explains why the video is made and stuff like that. Content moderator lawsuit. For those of you who don't know, content moderators are people who work at Google and YouTube and they work on a bunch of different platforms, but in specific, we're talking about ones from Google and YouTube. And what they do is they basically look at videos that have been flagged or that an AI thinks probably have bad content in them, and then they determine whether it should be deleted from the platform or allowed to stay. And it's a horrible job. Like, it's basically the people that have to do this, they have to Well, a lot of what they do is delete spam. They have to sit through like a bunch of just gore and um child abuse and like other very bad things, snuff films, things like that. And they just have to like sit through a bunch of those horrible videos and under like terrible working conditions. Like, I mean, they're not the worst working conditions in the world, but for like someone who's having to look at this kind of shit, it's horrible working conditions, and it causes major psychological damage in the content moderators and causes them to even develop PTSD in some cases. So and so what happened was someone sued Google for like $4 million and made them have to like implement like therapy programs and well, they had to do two things. They had to implement a bunch of systems which Google had already developed, but for some reason hadn't used, which were supposed to like, prevent the people from actually having to see the terrible content as much as possible. And the other thing they had to do was implement actual like therapy programs and on-site counseling and stuff like that to help ease the psychological damage that having to view the horrible shit was having to view the horrible shit on the platform was causing them. 21st century humor videos. So 21st century humor is a meme that became popular in 2021, which is basically it's a satirization of how modern day meme culture is like it's basically just super ironic and everyone's just trying to like constantly just become more and more ironic and indulge themselves in so many different layers of irony. And so it satirizes that by just shoving together as much shit as it can to just make a massive shit post, which is just full of chaotically edited images and audio and a bunch of different things just all mashed together into a meaningless yet still somehow funny pot of memes, I guess. Um yeah, it's really all there is here. Void memes. Void memes are a type of meme where you take an already popular short video and then play it like normally for a few seconds, and then midway through you play this ear-piercing, glitchy, creepy audio and heavily and freeze the video, heavily editing whatever you freeze it on to make it look really creepy. YouTube Shorts. Yeah, this one should really be on the first tier, but this Iceberg was created like a year ago when YouTube Shorts wasn't as horribly blown out of proportion as it is. But basically, because TikTok is becoming popular, YouTube decided to create like a system that like basically benefits short form content in a similar vein to TikTok. I mean, half of them are just re-uploaded TikToks anyway, so yeah, it's basically just YouTube's crappy way of trying to compete with TikTok. True, in quotation marks, story animation channels. So there's this YouTube channel called Story Booth, which basically it will animate stories submitted to it by its viewers who are kids and like people who are animators that actually like working on animation and actually care about what they're working on animated. And then the Soul Publishing, the creators of 5 Minute Craft Style, were like, oh, money. And so they created their own version of it called Actually Happened, which is completely fake. Like the stories are provably false. And this just opened up the floodgates and just created a ton of these different channels, which have all just started pumping out these terrible videos, which have just gotten more and more ridiculous over time. Like now they're just provably false at this point. Just things like they're just so ridiculously sensationalized, and the thumbnails are just completely clickbait. And Actually Happens also been deleted, so take that for what it's worth. Pyrocynical Allegations NS. So Pyrocynical. He's a very popular YouTuber, and he was accused of having groomed a minor in some weird fetish role plays, and basically So what happened was this. A bunch of these accusations came out against him by some person who claimed to have been groomed by him, and this resulted in a bunch of commentary channels making their videos on him. Then Pyrocynical responded in a Reddit post where he kind of debunked a bunch of what they said. And despite this, the commentary channels came back and just specifically Turkey Tom and just came up with as much evidence as we could to try and prove him guilty. But then he made a response video in which he made a response video in which he fully debunked everything and basically said that the worst thing he did was he didn't ask for someone who actively lied about their age and didn't make sure that they weren't a minor. But he never actually went and did anything with them in real life. All he did was he had some kind of gross fetish roleplays with them, again, when he thought that they were of age. And he apologized for not asking for their age. And basically everyone took this apology well, and Pyrocynical's reputation was saved. But meanwhile, and most of the commentary creators were mature and realized, hey, we were in the wrong, and admitted they were in the wrong. Everyone except Turkey Tom, on the other hand. Turkey Tom, Turkey Tom made a video called Responding to Pyrocynical, where he basically just makes a bunch of shit up, makes up a bunch of baseless accusations, and just is generally just a piece of shit that tries to ruin Pyrocynical's life for no reason, and fails to admit that he was wrong. This video was received horribly, and now has 12,000 likes and 104,000 dislikes. And when it was initially released, the comment section just got spammed with the lyrics to Michael Jackson's "Beat It." Also, after Pyrocynical released his response, basically everyone forgave him and just started making memes of it. Pyrocynical also had to read the actual post that he made when he defended himself and exposed his fetishes in the process, which has now become a running joke on his channel. LeafyIsHere Termination. LeafyIsHere is a crappy commentary channel which is basically responsible for all the terrible tropes that modern day commentary YouTube channels use, like shitty gameplay in the background and not really adding anything of substance and kind of just insulting a person or just restating what's already known. But he was known for being particularly mean-spirited and bullying multiple people. And you think that this would get his channel terminated for like bullying people, but it did not. However, a content cop was made on him in 2016, which resulted in his channel basically getting bullied so much that he left YouTube. But then 4 years later, once iDubbbz's reputation fell, Leafy came back, and he went back to making commentary videos, and he made fun of Pokimane, but YouTube terminated his channel for that, claiming it was bullying, even though he didn't really bully her. Which kind of leads to like a situation where like, is it worse that YouTube didn't terminate his channel earlier when he actually was bullying people, or that they did terminate his channel without warning, despite him not bullying people? Just bullied him for terminating his channel for something that wasn't bullying people. After that, he got banned from basically every social media platform except for Instagram. Dildo Death Race comment section. So Moist Critical uploaded a video called Dildo Death Race, where him and two of his friends use remote-controlled race cars, and they strap a balloon to each of them, and then weaponize them with dildos and nails, and then attempt to pop each other's balloons. And then once they're done with that, they drive them up a ramp and out a window for a durability test. But this entry isn't really referring to the video itself, though the video is certainly interesting. It's referring to some weird thing that happened with the video where, like, no one was able to upload any comments to it, and just almost every comment got removed, which led to a meme where people were commenting, like, or the few people that could comment were commenting, like, it was such a shame that the moderators, in quotation marks, would do such a horrible thing. And, also from reading comments, it seems like saying, videos saying, like, Hood Classic apparently seem to be immune to the deletion in some way. Impersonation channels. This refers to when a smaller YouTube channel will name itself the same thing as a larger YouTube channel and set their profile picture to the same thing as said channel, and then go to a comment section and attempt to pretend to be that person, usually for a scam or for subscribers. Bill Wirtz. Bill Wirtz is a YouTube channel which makes a variety of art content and music content. His songs are jazz pop and fall under the genre of jazz pop, and they're not really what's interesting. It's more so the video and the lyrics of the songs, as the songs are usually about nonsensical topics, like the moon being made of cheese. And the videos, the style they're done in, it's heavily characterized by like this neon, light blue, really colorful color scheme, as well as being just kind of high quality, low quality, where like it looks just like he doesn't really make any images of his own. He usually, and if he does, they're usually simplistic. He usually just manipulates other images, but he moves them around, and the way he moves them around is what's interesting about how he makes the videos. And he also has done some 3D animations, which are similar, where the actual assets of the animation are low quality, but the way he moves them around is what makes it, and how colorful they are is what makes them interesting. His most popular video is the entire history of the world, I guess, which the first 5 minutes of the video are a summary of the creation, or in the first 2.5 minutes of the video are basically a chemical analysis of like the creation of the universe up to the creation of life on Earth, with being explained by him with like little musical interludes in between and presented in his style. And then the next 2.5 minutes are about the biological history of life developing into humans, and also in the same style. And the last 15 minutes are a summary of all of human history, also in his style. After this video was extremely popular, gaining over 7 million views, and it's inspired multiple like sort of parodies of it, like the entire history of insert country here, I guess. Bill Wirtz even sort of made a sequel to it, as he made the entire history of Japan, I guess. But he never made any more after that. Friday Night Funkin' Community Controversies. Friday Night Funkin' is a very large fandom, and there's a lot of controversies about it. I'm not going to go super in depth into all of them. And some examples are a lot of creators have been outed as like abusers and groomers. A lot have been outed for like saying racist and homophobic things and transphobic things. Even the creator of the actual game itself did make a like edgy joke that's kind of racist in the past. But the two most well-known are the Sky Controversy, where BB Panzu made a mod based off of a miner's OC, which resulted in a bunch of Rule 34 getting made of the character, and a bunch of harassment getting sent, a bunch of Rule 34 getting made of the character, and that along with harassment getting sent to the person who owns the OC. And the other, which being the YouTube channel Spite, which covered a lot of these controversies, and then just mysteriously stopped doing that around 6 months ago, and now just uploads weird Rule 34 content, as though it's like, I don't know, I think the channel might have been hacked, honestly. The comment section has been disabled on all his videos. Free Guy YouTuber cameos. Free Guy is a really popular, but bad, movie that came out last year, and it stars funny man Ryan Reynolds, who plays like an NPC in a video game that like becomes more aware and basically obtains the level of sentience of a human. But the only good part of this movie is this part in the middle where like apparently for some reason everyone's so amazed by him for reasons that don't really make any sense, but everyone online is like obsessed with him, and so the movie got cameos from actual YouTubers, including Jacksepticeye, Ninja, Pokimane, DanTDM, and Laserbeam. Keemstar. Keemstar is a YouTuber who started making YouTube videos when one of his friends recorded him trolling people on Call of Duty while drunk. The video was really popular, so he became a trolling YouTuber. Eventually, he moved to this platform where he would like argue with people, but in one of the arguments, he said some racist things, which resulted in him getting banned from both basically every YouTube account and he was also banned on every video game console, since video game consoles didn't want his trolling associated with their games. And thus he needed to look for a new form of content. And he did eventually find that form of content in drama. And began the channel, well, worked on a channel that someone else technically runs, so it didn't get deleted, called Drama Alert, where he is a supposedly unbiased source of news that reports on both sides of drama issues online. This is a lie, however, because how biased he is basically depends on how much the people insult him or work with him. And Despite being someone who works on controversies, he's been in a lot of controversies himself, namely the previously mentioned Etika controversy, where he called Etika, he basically said some ableist things towards Etika right before Etika's, you know. But he hasn't really been in any career-ending controversies. Despite that, basically everyone hates him just because he's just a douchebag, and just an unlikable douchebag. Lil Nas X Satan Shoes controversy. A little over a year ago, in 2021, the music artist Lil Nas X, who we talked about earlier for Old Town Road, really, in order to promote his music video Mariya, which the music video which features a lot of satanic imagery in it, he created he worked with a company called Mischief and created a type of sneakers called Satan shoes, which were just like shoes that looked really satanic, and each one of them apparently had some of like the employees of the shoe company's blood in the soles of them, like a drop of it. And they sold only 666 pairs for like a little over $1,000 each. And of course, this sparked controversy because, I mean, duh, it's filled with satanic imagery and symbolism. That's the whole reason it was created, is basically to spark controversy. So yeah, a bunch of people, which are mostly just like Christian, got upset about it. What pretending to be crazy looks like. This is a video by JCS Criminal Psychology. So the first 10 minutes of this video talk about like the misconceptions of the legal system, and about like how people believe that if they're crazy, they're not going to if people believe that they're crazy, they think that for some reason it's like a get out of jail free card, which is not true at all. Well, being crazy and being like insane will give you a pass from the death penalty. You'll still go to a mental institution, which is just as bad, if not worse, than jail. And then it just shows an interview with someone who actually is insane, someone who game-ended someone on like a road to Canada. And you can very clearly tell that he's insane. He displays no emotion when talking about the crime. He displays no sympathy for the person he game-ended. He doesn't even like display any motivation, any attempt to like deny that he did it, any display of self-preservation is just gone. He just answers everything from a purely factual perspective. And this person, so we're showing the interview with him, complete with like commentary from the YouTube channel, and pointing out like how insane he is. And this person, and we only get the short abridged version of his interview, and are told after it that he was sent to a mental institution and declared insane and unable to be held for trial by way of insanity. Then for the rest of the video, the other 40 minutes, we're shown Nicholas Cruz, a mass shooter who tries pretending to be crazy to get out of his circumstances. And again, we're showing like bits of the interview interspliced with commentary from the channel. So some notable things are that like when the investigator leaves, he immediately looks up to see if there's a camera, and the moment he notices it, he starts acting what he would perceive to be crazy, making self-harming motions and attempting to scratch and bite himself, but in ways that obviously wouldn't even draw any blood. And don't draw any blood. So then the investigator comes, and he does like the whole investigator tactics where he attempts to be friendly, and he basically attempts to find out what this guy's story is. And the way the investigator phrases things is the investigator tries to make it look like he's a friend that's going to like diagnose him and get him in contact with like a psychologist that will have sympathy for him. But in reality, he's just trying to find out how he can prove that this guy's not insane. And so Nick begins like giving him the story about like a demon voice in his head that was telling him to do all these terrible things. Which, side note, he mentions 2 songs that he was listening to while doing the crime, and all the comment section filled in was like spam with like, oh man, the demon's got a great music choice. But anyway, he keeps claiming it has a demon voice, which he never had mentioned at any point in his life up until after he was apprehended. Just was telling him to do all these terrible things. And it seems like everything's going well for him until the investigator starts poking logical and fallacies and being like, the demon told you to buy guns, despite the fact that you clearly loved guns. It was the demon telling you how to listen to music. If weed got rid of the demon, why didn't you, just smoke weed, which you were doing anyway? What didn't the demon tell you to do? And eventually, as this is happening, the guy just loses it and basically attempts to just pretend to have a mental breakdown. And the guy's like, okay, and then handcuffs him and is like, yeah, I know you're faking it at this point. And yeah, and that's basically the whole video. And it's very obvious even without the commentary that this guy's faking it, but the commentary also helps point out what he's doing. And this video, it has over 63 million views, and it's just one of those videos that for some reason the YouTube algorithm just picked up and decided everyone has to watch it for some reason. And because of that, it sparked a bunch of copycat channels that also do this, where they'll look at criminal interrogations and provide commentary, though from what I've read, most of them aren't as good as JCS Criminal Psychology. And two other things are worth noting about this. The first of which being that JCS Criminal Psychology has stopped uploading videos. I believe I heard it's in like a Pyrocynical video because like they got demonetized. Like, can't confirm this. Never mind. The second thing was just me being an idiot and not realizing what order I set the videos on the channel to be displayed in. Rule 34, fan art of YouTubers. So for the blessed individuals that do not know, Rule 34 is a term used to refer to poon. And yeah, it originates from like a meme. It was like rules of the internet. One of them was Rule 34. If it exists, there is a poon of it. But anyway, there is a Rule 34 of YouTubers because, yeah, if it exists, there is poon of it. So yeah, that's mostly what this entry is referring to. But to expand on it a little, it is worth noting that with VTubers in specific, there is a much larger amount due to the fact that you're not really looting an actual person and rather just an avatar by them, and combined with the fact that a lot of VTubers encourage it. And it's also worth noting that for whatever reason, Jaden Animations just has a shitload of poon of her. Just a shitload of Rule 34. And which like it's gotten to the point where she's actually had to talk to Google and ask them to like try and take down some of it that comes up when you search her name. Which, like, her character is just like this little stick drawing. Like, how do you get off to that? And it's even worse because like her subreddit, there's two Jaden Animation subreddits, one of which is actually her her actual subreddit, and the other which is her Rule 34 subreddit. And the Rule 34 subreddit has more members. And and then if this like whole situation couldn't get any worse, a bunch of stupid copycat commentary channels that all just post the same stupid, shitty gameplay footage with their lazy ass voices over it, barely giving anything of substance, just make the viewers like, "Oh guys, I found some Gummy Animations Will Strike 4. Anyway, it's just pretty bad. Like and comment, you can come back before vote. Only 60% of you are subscribed." And this like resulted in a bunch of the artists getting harassed. And well, like, yeah, their art is gross. I think, maybe harassing them is taking a little bit too far. And Jaden Animations herself then called. Well, obviously she doesn't like the Rule 34 herself. Also had to call out the people that were harassing them. So it's just bad on both sides. And then, of course, also the commentary channels either had all the commentary channels. Some of them actually like owned up and like acknowledged the fact that Jaden Animations was spotted, but others just completely ignored it, which is hilarious. And for the final entry on this tier of the iceberg, ElsaGate. ElsaGate is a word used to refer to a phenomenon that started on YouTube in 2017. Or at least was noticed first in 2017. What this phenomenon entails is YouTube videos which feature popular characters from various different child-friendly medias, which namely Elsa. Elsa's the main one, but there's also Spider-Man, Batman, Hulk. There's basically just a bunch of kid-friendly minions, a bunch of kid-friendly characters. And these videos are just these really crappy, low-quality videos designed to just farm views. However, these videos have a hard time competing with, like, the official stuff that's uploaded to YouTube. So in order to do this, what the videos ended up doing is the ElsaGate channel started putting really gross, obscene, fetishy content in their thumbnails that just naturally entice children who were not used to the social, or just like blockaded from it by the social taboos, and were naturally drawn to it. The phenomenon was, it was a lot of people, a lot of people took notice of it, but it didn't really gain any traction until this one person wrote an article on it, in which they coined the term ElsaGate. They also created a bunch of theories about like it being run by a ring of kid diddlers who are trying to like groom children into accepting a bunch of fetishes, which I wouldn't say that's true of all the channels. I think that at the end of the day, they're more so just money farms, but it's definitely true of a lot of them. And as this went on, the thumbnails just got worse and worse. More and more larger YouTubers spoke out about it, along with parents whose children were watching this shit. And so they talked to YouTube, and YouTube responded by saying, "Oh, but at the end of the day, it's the parents who are in charge." Which, yes, that is true. But like, you are in charge of child safety on YouTube. You of all people should be the last person to use that kind of excuse. But anyway, they made it so they toughened up on their community guidelines, making it so that you can't use fictional characters that belong to kids media within like nefarious situations. But this didn't do a lot to take down ElsaGate as a whole. So they toughened up their policy even more, and basically just had this massive sweep of personnel and bots that just completely deleted all the ElsaGate videos as much as they could find, and made it basically impossible to make any more. And then in addition to that, 2 years later, Kappa came, which was most likely, well, it definitely wasn't completely caused by ElsaGate. ElsaGate did definitely play a large part in the creation of Kappa. And with Kappa, now it's basically impossible for ElsaGate videos to make as much money anymore. But that being said, they still do exist. So that concludes the second tier. 2 down, 11 more to go. This tier was mostly just a lot of annoying controversies, but there was some interesting stuff in it. Yeah. If I got anything wrong about this in this part of this tier or the last part, then I guess you can let me know in the comments. Bye.